Discover the miraculous wife of Noah, a divine blessing who survived the incredible flood. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, a time when sin abounded upon the earth, the hearts of men were corrupted, and the thoughts of their minds were wicked continually. In that age of depravity, God gazed upon the earth and found one man, Noah, righteous in his generation. As the Lord spoke to Noah, commanding him to build an ark of gopher wood, the weight of divine purpose fell heavily upon Naamah, his wife. With her heart both filled with dread and longing, she watched as their humble village of Nod scoffed at her husband's task, their laughter ringing sharp and mocking. Naamah, meaning pleasant, stood resolute beside Noah. Each day, as he declared the impending judgment, the derision of their neighbors pierced her like arrows. Women clutched their children, murmuring that Noah had forsaken reason, lost to the delusions of divine wrath. Yet in her, a quiet strength flourished. They gathered provisions together, wood, pitch. Her hands grew calloused, her resolve fortified. She whispered encouragement to Noah, affirming the divine call with unwavering faith. But as the sun set day after day, doubt began to seep into Naamah's spirit. With each wooden beam raised, she wrestled with an unsettling question: how could such wickedness dwell in the hearts of men while they were marked for salvation? In the stillness of the night, Naamah prayed, her soul laid bare before God. "Will you truly protect us, O Lord?" As time passed and the ark loomed larger against the horizon, the skies grew dark. The horizon twisted ominously, clouds gathering as if in response to some celestial summons. The first drops of rain fell in a rhythm of thunder and despair, and Naamah clutched her children tight, feeling the air thrum with foreboding. Outside their wooden fortress, the pleas of the despairing echoed, cries yearning for mercy, the cries of the very world that had mocked them. In that tumult, Naamah closed her eyes, recalling God's promise, the covenant made with her husband. They would preserve the seed of creation, the very essence of life as it had been known. As waters rushed violently, she turned to Noah, drawing strength from his steadfastness. The sound of the ark creaking became a symphony of hope, mingling with the roar of chaos outside. It transformed her fear into fierce trust. She recalled the stories of deliverance woven throughout her life, reminding herself and her children of God's unwavering faithfulness. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the tumult of the storm grew, Naamah wrestled with a tempest of her own. Each wave crashing against the sides of the ark whispered questions back to her. Was this truly the end? With every surge, she questioned what awaited them. But looking to Noah, she saw a man transformed through his unwavering faith, and her heart filled with hope for what lay ahead. Would they endure? What revelation awaited them beyond the tempest? It remained shrouded in the mists of uncertainty as the ark floated aimlessly upon the roiling waves, propelling Naamah and her family into the tapestry of God's unfolding redemption. Amidst the storm, she prayed fervently, yearning to glimpse the promise that God had in store for them in the unknown that lay beyond the flood. And it came to pass, as the waters prevailed upon the earth, that the floodgates of heaven opened wide, and the rain fell upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. The deluge washed over the land, engulfing the mountains and swallowing the cries of a world unrepentant. Inside the ark, Naamah felt the violent rocking of their refuge, yet she remained rooted in prayer, her heart a vessel for the anguish and hope of every soul on board. "Lord of hosts," she pleaded, "you have seen our faithfulness. Let us not perish amid this storm." Her voice, though quaking, carried the weight of conviction born from a life spent nurturing faith in her children. She turned to Shem, Ham, and Japheth, their faces etched with the solemnity of their shared plight. "Fear not, for our Father is our shield. He will guide us through this dark hour." Noah, ever vigil, stood steadfast at the helm of the ark where he had entrusted the lives of his family to God's unshakable word. His heart was heavy with the burden of the lost, those who laughed at their folly and turned their faces from the truth. The cries from the depths of the storm only intensified, a symphony of despair that pierced his soul. He could hear them calling out for deliverance, yearning for the very mercy they had scorned. "Will they not understand, O Lord?" Noah implored, his voice thick with grief. "Though the earth is now consumed, can your mercy stretch forth to save?" As the days flowed into weeks, Naamah's spirit was fortified through the communion of prayer, and God's presence became palpable within the confines of the ark. She remembered the covenant spoken over them, the promise that life would spring forth once more from the remnants of destruction. The ark became an altar where each family member prayed, pouring out their hearts in anticipation of God's mercy, the echoes of their cries pregnant with expectancy. Then, one day, as the storm began to subside and the rain ceased its relentless assault, the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. The quiet that descended was enveloping, yet in that stillness lay the promise of renewal. Naamah, gazing through a window she had carved in her heart, felt as if the still waters of God's grace were washing over her soul. "Look what the Lord has wrought," she declared as she gazed at her husband, whose face shone with divine assurance. "His hand has preserved us. There is hope yet for our world." Noah, feeling the weight of time and revelation upon him, turned as the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the ark. He felt compelled to send forth a raven, a harbinger of what lay in wait. As the bird took flight, Naamah watched, a potent mixture of fear and faith swirling within her spirit. Soon a dove was dispatched, its soft wings a whisper of hope. Days passed and the dove returned, bearing an olive leaf, a sign of life renewed. The promise of God began to unfurl before their eyes, bridging the breadth of despair with the bright hope of a new beginning. Naamah clutched the leaf as if it were a relic, a token of the divine faithfulness that would never abandon them. "Though we have endured the storm, may we take courage again, for the earth will be repopulate, and our lineage shall thrive," Naamah spoke, her heart ignited by a burgeoning faith. As she looked out into the expanse of the world still cloaked in silence, a fervor ignited within her. But what shall the generations to come remember of this moment? She pondered, holding tightly to the olive branch, the glimmering promise juxtaposed against the shadow of their recent tribulation. "And God spoke unto Noah, As the waters recede, prepare to walk in a new covenant with me. For I shall never again curse the ground for man's sake. Behold, my bow shall be set in the clouds." Thus, a revelation indeed awaited them in the new world God would create. But as the clouds parted, a question lingered in Naamah's spirit: what mighty purpose would still unfold through the legacy of faith amid trials yet unseen? And it came to pass in the days that followed the cessation of the rains, that Noah, having heard the voice of the Lord, gathered his family and spoke to them with great zeal. "The waters have abated, and our refuge shall soon be a vessel for renewal. We must prepare, for our Almighty God has set a new covenant in motion." Shem, Ham, and Japheth, with their hearts aflame with hope, gathered the remnants of their possessions. They did this all while holding dear the olive leaf, which Naamah had cherished, a symbol of life restored from the desolation that had once engulfed the earth. As the sun illuminated the sky, casting rays of warmth over the battered ark, Naamah stood by the window, marveling at the transformed landscape. The mountains now stood tall, majestic and draped in the vibrant colors of life returning. Her spirit soared within her as she beheld the newfound beauty that emerged from the ashes of judgment. "O Lord," she whispered, "you have turned our mourning into joy. We are witnesses to your wondrous acts of mercy." Noah instructed his sons to gather the animals, for soon they would step upon the very earth that had been cleansed. "Let us remember the weight of what we have endured," he reminded them. "In this new beginning, we hold not just our own lives, but the lives of all creation. We are to be stewards of this covenant." With purpose, they ventured forth upon the ark, and as the door was opened, the sweet scent of earth washed over them like a tender embrace. They stepped down, each footfall echoing the heartbeat of a world reborn. Every creature upon the land, from the lowly ant to the regal lion, emerged in faithfulness to God's command. Naamah observed this divine procession and rejoiced, her heart a testament to their perseverance. The harmony of creation restored filled the air, and the once stagnant world became a chorus of life. As the animals scattered, paired in their innocence, Noah built an altar unto the Lord. Taking stones from the earth, he arranged them with care, his hands trembling with reverent awe for the God who had saved them. The fire blazed, and the smoke rose as an offering, a fragrant aroma ascending to the heavens. "Great is your faithfulness, O Lord," Noah proclaimed. "May every sacrifice we offer be a reminder of your grace." In the midst of offerings, a profound silence fell over the family. Naamah, feeling the weight of God's promise, turned her gaze toward the sky, where the first rays of a radiant rainbow began to weave through the clouds. "This is his sign," she exclaimed, pointing upward. "The bow in the sky is a reminder of his unending mercy. We are called to look upon it and remember his covenant. Never again will he flood the earth." The family stood, spellbound by this revelation, the colors of the rainbow reflecting not just light, but the very essence of God's love and promise. Yet, as their hearts rejoiced, Naamah could not shake a heavy sensation that briefly clouded her spirit. "Lord, what trials shall the future hold for us?" she pondered, the thought echoing in her mind. And as the family beheld the magnificent bow that spanned the sky, a whisper seemed to stir within Naamah's heart. What would this covenant mean for the generations to come? For beyond the promise of a new beginning lay a mystery yet to be unveiled in the pages of their lives. Thus, they stood as witnesses to the mercy of God, filled with divine hope yet filled with questions, knowing that the tapestry of his sovereign plan would soon unfold amidst the dusty roads of a reborn world. And it came to pass, after the sacrifices and the sweet aroma had ascended before the Lord, that the voice of God spoke yet again unto Noah, saying, "Behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth that is with you, of all that went out of the ark." Noah, wide-eyed with the weight of God's words, bowed his head low in reverence. "O Lord," he murmured, "you have preserved us, and now you declare a covenant that stretches through all generations. Who am I, that you are mindful of me?" Then the Lord continued, "The bow that I set in the cloud shall be for a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you." Naamah, standing beside her husband, felt the presence of the Almighty envelop them. The very essence of hope filled her heart as she shared in the promise of God. "Indeed, Lord, let the generations to come know the faithfulness of your word." With hearts renewed, Noah and his family began to explore the earth before them. The land flourished with greenery, bursting forth with life and colors unnumbered. Every step they took was a reminder of the grace that had covered them, grace that no storm could wash away. Shem approached, his brow furrowed with concern. "Father, shall we not build a dwelling as we start anew? This ark was our refuge, but now we need a home to nurture the generations." Noah, in his wisdom, nodded in agreement. "Yes, my son. Let us raise a structure that honors our God who delivered us." And so, they gathered materials from the earth, brick by brick, tree by tree, constructing a dwelling that would shelter the fruits of their labor. Thus, days turned into weeks, and life flourished, seeds were sown, and vegetation thrived. The family rejoiced in the feast of harvest, offering thanks to the Creator of all. "This abundance is a testament to his grace, the Lord of the harvest," Naamah declared, breaking bread with her family. Yet, amidst the laughter and joy, a question lingered in Naamah's heart, echoing with the urgency of the Moran winds. What shall we teach our children of this covenant, and how shall we prepare them for the world that lies ahead? Noah, sensing the turmoil within her, spoke tenderly, "We must teach them the stories of faith, of obedience, and of the love of God that preserves life through every trial. Let the bough serve as a reminder of his promise of mercy." As they gathered under the sheltering sky, the rainbow waxing in brilliance, a thought struck Naamah's mind. It was not merely for them, but for all generations to come. Little did they know, the covenant set forth would call upon them to walk the lengths of faith against the winds of temptation. And while the family marveled at the wonders emerging from the ground, Naamah's spirit stirred with a keen awareness of the unknown that lay ahead. What mighty trials await for those who come after us? She pondered silently. Thus, amid the laughter and joys, a silent pact was formed between heaven and earth, a divine trust set into motion. The pieces of God's sovereign plan were being placed upon the mosaic of time, and as she gazed upon her family, their eyes glimmered with hope, yet she felt the weight of an unfolding mystery. For beyond the promise of a renewed covenant, hidden in the depths of this divinely orchestrated moment, was a revelation the world was yet to witness, a lineage that would shape the fate of countless lives. What would become of this family, and how would the future reflect God's greater purpose? Would they rise to the challenge and fulfill their part within His grand design? Thus, their hearts were filled not only with gratitude, but with a sense of divine anticipation, as the whisper of what was to come began to weave through their days. And it came to pass, as the days grew longer and the sunlight embraced the earth, that Noah gathered his family about him. The children, with their eyes wide with curiosity, pressed in closely, eager to hear the stories their father would share. "Come, my beloved ones," Noah beckoned, "let us speak of the faithfulness of our God." Each evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, Noah recounted to his sons the wonders of creation, how the Lord had shaped the world and every creature within it by His mighty hand. He spoke of the flood, a mighty deluge sent as judgment, and of the grace that had enveloped them throughout their ordeal. Though the waters raged and the earth was consumed, the Lord remembered His promise, He declared, and it is He who leads us now into this new season of life. As the stories unfolded, Naamah sat quietly, her heart swelling with both pride and trepidation. She knew that her husband was imparting wisdom, but she sensed within her a stirring that would not settle. "O Lord, what do you desire from us?" she whispered softly, longing for divine insight. In the moonlight, a soft wind blew through the trees, rustling the leaves as if the heavens themselves were replying to her plea. The next morning, as dawn broke with magnificent splendor, Naamah prepared the family for their day. "Let us gather provisions," she spoke with resolve, "and honor the earth from which our survival springs." As they ventured into the fields, the family labored joyously, planting and nurturing the crops that would sustain them. Yet, amidst their toil, the shadows of doubt crept into Naamah's heart. What will we do when trials come? She pondered, the weight of future struggles pressing down upon her spirit. One afternoon, after a day full of toil, a stranger approached their dwelling. His clothes were worn and his face weathered, yet his eyes shone with hope. "Peace be upon you," he called out, and the family gathered to see his arrival. "Who art thou?" Noah asked, taking a step forward, mindful of his flock. "I am a wanderer, seeking refuge," the man replied, and Naamah felt a stirring within her, a prompting to extend grace. "Come, friend, share with us what burdens you carry," she urged, leading him to their table adorned with the fruits of their labor. As they broke bread, the stranger shared tales of his own journey, of the trials he had faced and the deliverance he had encountered. In the darkest hours, he said with a fervor that ignited awe in their hearts, "I called upon the name of the Lord, and He answered." Washes of silence fell across the gathering, and Naamah's spirit awakened to the realization of their call to be a light to those in need. In that moment, divinely intertwined, she perceived fresh purpose. They were to be the bearers of hope and providence, the very embodiment of the covenant of mercy that God had bestowed upon them. The days continued to pass, and with each blessing freely given, whether it was food shared, kindness shown, or stories of faith exchanged, Naamah felt the weight of God's plan expanding before her. "This is why He has spared us," she recalled Noah's earlier words, "that we might be vessels of His grace." Yet, even as joy blossomed within her, the lingering uncertainty crept back. What unseen trials lie ahead, and how would their faith be tested further? With the future looming uncertain, Naamah found herself drawn to the beauty of responsibility as well as the toil it demanded. With hearts now woven together in understanding and connection, the family lifted their eyes heavenward to the bow that graced the sky, its colors vibrant against the sun. Naamah could feel within her an urging to prepare not only her children for the world, but to ready her spirit for battles yet unseen. Thus, under the watchful skies, they embraced their newfound calling, trusting in the God who promises not only mercy, but a plan beyond their full understanding. What would unfold in the chapters of their lineage? Would their faith guide them through the tempests that would surely come? And amidst the growing anticipation, the families of future generations awaited the manifestation of a promise unfulfilled, a divine revelation yet to be secured. And it came to pass, in those days of renewal, that as Naamah pondered the stranger's words, the Lord's voice whispered to her spirit, affirming the call she felt growing within. Behold, she mused, our hands are instruments of the Most High, meant to serve the weary and reflect His love. The sun now painted the land with a golden hue, illuminating the crops burgeoning within the fields. They had grown stronger, nourished by the sweat of their brow and the blessings of the Almighty. Each day the family, united in purpose, sought not merely survival, but to spread the kindness and grace bestowed upon them. And every evening, Noah gathered his family to share tales of faith, how the Lord had led them through the deluge into this new beginning. "Tell us again, Father," one of his sons implored, his eyes glimmering with delight. "How did the dove return with the olive leaf?" And as Noah recounted how the bird, faithful in its mission, had brought them hope signifying the promise of new life, Naamah felt the weight of the past shift to the promise of their future. "O Lord," she prayed silently, "may our lives be as the dove, heralding reconciliation and restoration to all who seek you." But even as they embraced their purpose, an impending shadow loomed on the horizon, unnoticed at first. It was the arrival of murmurs carried by the winds, whispers from far-off lands filled with strife. "Have you heard?" a stranger had recounted in passing. "People begin to speak of a great king rising, spreading dominion and fear." Noah, hearing this news, furrowed his brow. "The hearts of men are easily led astray," he cautioned his family. "But we must stand firm in our faith, for the Lord who saved us from the flood is still near." And yet a knot of apprehension tightened within Naamah's heart as she envisioned the struggles and conflicts looming over the horizon. She would often find herself contemplating, what if the world were once again filled with evil, and our calling would be put to the test? As days passed into weeks, a stirring began among the people residing in the nearby settlements. Fewer travelers sought refuge, and those that came bore tales not of peace, but of violence and anger. "There is a darkness descending," revealed the wanderer who had once shared their table. "It is as if the curse of the flood has not only cleansed the earth, but ignited a deeper malady within mankind." The family, though fearful, gathered in prayer, seeking the Almighty's guidance. Their hearts echoed, "O Lord, what do you ask of us? How might we stand against the tide of despair?" In their supplication, Naamah felt a profound vision where not only their family, but even those beyond their kinship were heirs of the mercy they had received. "We are not merely survivors," she declared with newfound courage, "but emissaries of hope destined to shine brighter in times of adversity." One fateful evening, as the skies turned sepia gold, they gathered before their gathered neighbors. "Come, all of you," Noah proclaimed with a voice that echoed through the fields, "let us strengthen our bonds, for the storm shall come, and we must stand together as a beacon of light amidst the tempest." And thus they came, seeking fellowship and shelter from the encroaching darkness. Each shared their burdens, their hearts intertwining in unity, for they recognized that together they embodied the promise of God's covenant. Yet, unbeknownst to them, the world beyond would soon challenge even their resolve. As Naamah gazed into the flickering flame of the evening fire, she prayed fervently, her heart charged with an urgency she could not name. "What is to come, O Lord? Let us be equipped for every trial, fortified in faith." In that moment, as the shadows danced and the winds shifted, a new understanding dawned upon her. Even amidst their trials, God's sovereign plan was unfolding a purpose intertwined with heritage and lineage yet unknown. But what she did not yet grasp was the profound depth of their calling. For beyond their immediate concerns, a divine tapestry was in the making where destinies collided and promises would echo through generations, awaiting fulfillment in ways they could never foresee. And it came to pass that as the people gathered, a sense of urgency filled the air. The beauty of the evening, bathed in twilight hues, could not dispel the weight of the world pressing in around them. Whispers of fear grew like thorns among the fields, choking out the joy that had flourished in their hearts. Noah, sensing the spirit of alarm among his kin, raised his hands toward the heavens, invoking the name of the Lord. "Hearken unto me, dear ones," he implored, his voice steady yet filled with the trembling of conviction. "The tempest of our days is not a surprise to the Almighty. He sees and knows our struggles. Together, let us remember his faithfulness." From among the gathered, Naamah stepped forward, emboldened by her fervent prayers. "We have seen the hand of God in our deliverance, have we not?" she cried, her eyes ablaze with a fire birthed from hope. "He who guided us through the waters now calls us to shine his light in the darkness. Let not fear extinguish our spirits." The crowd listened intently, hearts stirred by her fervor. Yet, the specter of dread still lingered, for news of the great king and his violent hordes traveled fast. As the days languished, words of vengeance and oppression rattled their peace, each tale more gruesome than the last. One fateful morning, a traveler, haggard and weary, stumbled into their encampment. His cloak was tattered, and his eyes bore the weight of despair. "The harvest of blood has begun," he uttered with ragged gasps. "The world is filled with a great king who rains terror upon the heart of man and makes alliances with darkness." A gasp rippled through the assembly, and Naamah felt her heart constrict within her breast. "O Lord, protect us," she cried, grasping Noah's arm tightly. The family, bound not only by flesh, but by faith, stood united against the tide of torment threatening to engulf their lives. Noah's hand rested upon her shoulder, bringing comfort in the uncertainty. "We must not shrink away," he reassured her. "For even in restraint, God can work deliverance." And so they gathered for prayer, their voices rising like incense to the heavens. With each supplication, Naamah poured out her spirit, beseeching the Lord for courage, for discernment, and for an outpouring of his love to engulf the world. "Strengthen us, O Lord," she implored, "that we might be vessels of your grace amongst the lost and weary." In the stillness that followed, a profound silence enveloped them, as if the heavens themselves paused to listen. It was then that Naamah felt a stirring in her spirit, a whisper of promise echoing against her heart. "There is a purpose woven into our pain, a strength in our unity," she proclaimed, casting her gaze upon the captivated assembly. "For we are not destined to fear, but to act, to be the hands, the feet, the voices of truth proclaiming life amidst decay." As days turned to weeks, they worked tirelessly, nourishing their fields and caring for one another. Their faith became a refuge, a sanctuary against the external chaos. In the heart of the community, seeds of hope began to sprout, defying the darkness that loomed. Yet beyond their unity, a greater call loomed ominously upon the horizon, as divinely woven as the comfort they found in each other. Naamah grasped the reality that God was not only preparing them to stand boldly against the tide of despair, but was also preparing a legacy, a calling that would reverberate through the ages. But what she could not perceive was that a single confrontation with this great king would soon shift the very course of their destiny. God's sovereign plan, cloaked in mystery, awaited its unveiling, destined to intertwine with their faith in ways they had yet to understand. The tempest was not merely a test, but the vessel through which God would reveal his glory and purpose, a revelation that would echo through the annals of time. Now it came to pass that the days wore on, and, while the hearts of the people hoped for peace, even the dawn brought whispers of tumult. As they labored and lifted one another's burdens, the news of the great king grew ominous, and a shadow veiled their future. In the still of the night, a vision gripped Naamah, stirring her from slumber. She beheld the heavens split open like a great curtain, revealing the hosts of celestial beings, radiant and full of glory. The voice of the Lord rang out, "Fear not, for I am with you. I shall make an everlasting covenant with you and your descendants." Her heart quickened at the promise, and she awoke, trembling yet resolute. Behold, she called to Noah, awakening him gently. "The Lord has spoken. He shall bring forth a heritage out of our unity, and his covenant shall endure beyond this present darkness." Noah sat upright, eyes wide with wonder. "What dost thou see, my beloved?" he inquired, eager for her revelation. "I have witnessed the heavenly host," Naamah replied, her voice imbued with a prophetic weight. "The Lord shall equip us not only to stand firm, but to grow in the hollows of despair. For we are his chosen to bear forth the light." A charge ignited within the assembly as Noah shared Naamah's vision. Each heart swelled with renewed purpose as they gathered once more to seek the face of the Almighty. They lifted their voices united in prayer, men and women, young and old, beseeching the heavens for guidance and strength. Days turned into weeks, and against the backdrop of encroaching darkness, their labor bore fruit. The fields flourished, and their hands grew strong. Fellowship supported them as trials pressed upon their spirits, bringing them to the depth of their convictions. And lo, it came to pass that an envoy of the great king approached their encampment, armed and defiant. He bore a letter inscribed with the edict of battle, declaring the king's intent to subjugate all who defied his rule. "Submit or perish," he proclaimed with a voice that boomed like thunder. A wave of fear swept through the gathered, but Naamah stepped forward, her countenance shining with the strength of her faith. "Hearken unto this decree. We are not ruled by the threat of man, for our eyes are set upon the Lord, who reigns above. We stand as a testament to his promise." The envoy, taken aback by her audacity, laughed scornfully. "You dare defy the will of the king? What strength do you possess against his might?" "Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts," she declared boldly. "Do you not see? The hearts of those who trust in him are unyielding, and our deliverance is at hand." Though the envoy scoffed and retired, planting seeds of doubt in the hearts of some, a fervor ignited within the faithful. They rallied together, as a tribe born out of hunger for righteousness, voices raised in resounding prayer, their faith a shield against despair. And in the depths of their supplication, God's plan began to unravel before them, as treasures hidden for ages were revealed in the hearts of his people. But what they did not yet discern was that the bidding of this great king was but the prelude to a greater upheaval, a vexing trial destined to become the turning point of their existence and of history itself. As the winds began to rustle through the trees, the scent of divine intervention hung thick in the air, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through eternity, a confrontation where faith and destiny would collide under God's sovereign orchestration. And it came to pass, as the days continued to unfold in fervor and uncertainty, that a cloud of dread loomed over the assembly. The envoy of the great king had returned, this time not alone. With him came a multitude of armored men, fierce and resolute, prepared to enforce the terror of their master. They stood like a wall of iron at the edge of the camp, casting long shadows over the faithful. Yet, emboldened by the faith that had been ignited in her heart, Naamah felt a stirring within her spirit. "Gather the people," she urged Noah with an intensity born of divine conviction. "Let us prepare our hearts for the Lord's deliverance." Noah, seeing the determination in her eyes, rallied the multitude. "Come, brothers and sisters. Let us not cower in fear. Our God is with us, the Creator who split the seas and answered our forefathers in their time of need." With voices raised high, the people joined together in unison. They cried out, lifting their hands to the heavens, "O Lord of hosts, arise in your might. Grant us strength in our weakness, and deliver us from the hand of the oppressor." Then, in the midst of their supplication, a great wind swept through the camp, stirring the branches of the trees, as though nature itself answered their plea. The people's eyes widened, and they turned toward the voice that was calling out to them. And behold, upon the horizon, a figure emerged. It was Eliakim, a prophet renowned for his words of wisdom and his unwavering faith. He strode forth boldly, his robes billowing, and his countenance radiant with the light of the Lord. "Fear not, O people of the covenant," he proclaimed, his voice echoing across the assembly. For the Lord says, "I will not leave you nor forsake you. No weapon forged against you shall prosper." A fervor erupted as Eliakim raised his staff, declaring, "The hearts of the unrighteous tremble before truth. The battle is not yours, but the Lord's. Stand firm and see the salvation of our God." The urgency of divine proclamation surged through the assembly, igniting a fire within them. They clasped their hands together, their murmurs blending into a mighty chorus of faith that rippled through the valley. Then Eliakim spoke again, "Gather your provisions. Prepare your hearts, for the Lord commands you to take courage. This day he shall demonstrate his power, and history shall bear witness to the faith of his people." As they heeded his words, the ground beneath them quivered with the weight of what was to come. The laughter of the envoy could be heard tauntingly as he bellowed to his men, "Prepare to march. Show these fools no mercy." Yet the faith of Noah and Naamah overspread their assembly like a shield, and the Lord was with them. In that moment, they became not merely followers, but a mighty force united in purpose. When the sun rose the next day, colors of orange and gold streaked the sky, heralding the dawn of confrontation. Naamah held fast to the promise that had gripped her heart, whispering, "What he has begun in us shall not end in defeat, but in a testament of his glory." For the battle ahead would reveal not merely the fate of a people, but would unfold a narrative penned by the hands of the Almighty, a revelation intertwined with the destiny of all nations. But unknown to them was the greater plan of the Lord unfolding in the heavens, a confrontation that would not just be against flesh and blood, but would illuminate the eternal covenant promised to his chosen. The time was fast approaching when the line between faith and fulfillment would blend, and the echoes of his plan reverberated throughout the ages. And it came to pass, on the day of battle, the sun rose as a blazing reminder of God's steadfastness, illuminating both the steadfast hearts of Noah and Naamah and the encroaching shadows of the mighty king's forces. As Naamah surveyed the gathering of those faithful, her heart surged with hope and resolve. "Today, beloved family," she called out, "we will bear witness to the Lord's deliverance. Stand firm, for our God fights for us." Noah, emboldened by her words, rallied the men and women, their eyes locked in unity. "Fear not. Recall the covenant made, the promise of mercy given to our forefathers. Today, we shall let the world see the unfailing strength of our God." The assembly responded with a resounding roar, their voices coalescing in a mighty proclamation of faith. As the armies of the great king advanced, a murmur of trepidation rippled through the ranks. Yet the people of God stood resolute, intertwined in prayer and determination. Naamah, feeling the weight of her calling, began to lead her family in worship, her voice rising as a beacon of hope amidst uncertainty. "Great is your faithfulness, O Lord. You shall lead us to victory." At that moment, Eliakim, the prophet, stretched out his staff and called forth the name of the Lord. "Arise, O God. Let the earth tremble beneath your power, for your name will be glorified today." And as he spoke, a thunderous sound echoed from the heavens. The skies darkened, clouds swirling in a divine display, as God's presence settled upon the flock. A hush fell, broken only by the cadence of faithful hearts. Before the enmity of the great king could give way to fear, an unprecedented sight captured all eyes. A mighty wind whipped across the battlefield, scattering the enemies as if they were but chaff in the breeze, their spirits quenched as fear gripped their hearts. Naamah looked upon the scene and witnessed the hand of God at work. She grasped her husband's arm, astonished. "Behold, he is causing confusion among our adversaries." Encouraged by the sight, the families lifted their voices again, united in their cries. "O Lord, you are our stronghold. You are our fortress against the liars and dark rulers of this earth." The forces that had once threatened to consume them began to scatter, retreating before the might of the covenant people. And then it happened. God's power descended in a wave, parting the gathering storm in a way no human hand could control. A blinding light encased the assembly of God, and as of now, the cries of the faithful mingled with the woeful howls of the fleeing adversaries. Within this spectacle of divine intervention, the covenant of peace they had longed for became tangible in their midst. With triumphant hearts and strengthened faith, Naamah and Noah rushed with their family toward the remnants of the defeated King's forces, alive with courage and conviction. They pressed forward, declaring the power of the Almighty who had delivered them from despair. "Oh, let the goodness of God be proclaimed!" Naamah cried as they reached the edge of the fray, casting stones of hope upon the hearts of the frightened masses. In that hour, a transformative moment transpired, as those who had once mocked their plight fell prostrate, pleading for mercy. The legacy of the Ark had birthed a new beginning, a reminder of God's deliverance, woven into their very essence. "Come, let us share the load of grace bestowed by God," Noah proclaimed, joining hands with the fearful. "Together we may weather any storm, and you too may know the unfathomable depths of His mercy." As day turned to dusk, the brightness of the sun was punctuated by the luminous form of the rainbow spreading across the sky, each color a reminder of the covenant anew. Their hearts resounded in gratitude, and Naamah offered a prayer of thanksgiving, interceding for the hearts yet to know the loving hand of God. The vision of what lay ahead unfurled in her spirit. They were meant to be more than mere survivors, their purpose intertwined with God, sowing seeds of mercy across generations. And thus the people marched forward into their future, emboldened by the strength of their ancestors and the vision of Naamah. The earth had been cleansed by flood, but here they would plant a deeper legacy, the legacy of the faithful, shining bright against the darkness of despair. As they spread forth, a new dawn arose, not only revealing the promise of life, but igniting within every heart the call to bear witness to His faithfulness, a testimony destined to echo through ages. They would teach their children of the storm, but also of the deliverance of God's assurance that He is ever faithful, that He builds upon covenant, and that His merciful hand does not falter. Therefore, dear friends, as we reflect on this extraordinary journey of faith and divine intervention, let us embrace the call of Naamah and Noah. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm, ensuring His truth reaches countless seekers. Comment your spiritual reflections and how this biblical story impacted your faith, for your testimony may be the spark that ignites hope in another's heart. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. For only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ.